That's what's so magnificent. I'm going to say it until I can pronounce it right. Mihaela. It's not Mihula. It's not Mihila. It's not Mahala. You know, so when people ask me, how did I get into the actor studio on my first try? I don't know if I was talking to God, but I must have. Hi, everyone. This is Mihaela with Art of Experiencing. I don't know why I'm doing the syllable by syllable. I think it has to do with pronunciation of my name and people getting it wrong so many times. So when I tell them my name, no matter that I've been here for over 20 years, I feel like I have to do it in syllables for them to get it. That's why some people call me Miha first or Ella second. It's so interesting because I saw this interview that was done by Al Pacino from the Actor Studio in Los Angeles. There was a segment where he talked about when he was just a young actor, becoming a member of the Actor Studio was him receiving and feeling that he belonged, that he arrived, that he was part of a community, which was such an emotional moment for me to watch him, because I feel that when I became a member of the Actor Studio 20-some years ago, if I remember correctly, I had asked an actor, I had known him from the master's program. We went to with Bradley Cooper. I called him up and I said, can you help me with this audition? I have to audition for the Actor Studio, not for the school. There's always such a confusion that people make when they talk about the Actor Studio. There are two Actor Studio. There's the Actor Studio that goes back 75 years. They're celebrating 75 years this year, actually. The artistic home. They used to be a Greek Orthodox Church, which I associate with my dad being a priest, my mom working for this beautiful church community they built for over 40 years in a suburb of Detroit, Michigan. So knowing that the Actor Studio building, the one in New York, used to be a church, is such a personal thing for me. When Al Pacino was talking about when he first became a member of the Actor Studio, it took me back to my audition for the Actor Studio, not for the school. The school is something different. The school you have to go to, you still have to audition to get in. It's a great program, but you have to pay for it. It's a school. It's a 3-year program. It's a master's program. That's the one I went to with this actor and Bradley Cooper. But this other actor, I called him and I said, listen, I have the opportunity to audition for the Actor Studio. If you graduate from the program, they give you the opportunity to audition without going through all the stages. You audition as a finalist, and if they like you, you become a member. But it's still very difficult to get in. So many people have auditioned for so many times, so many years, because you can only audition once a year. And they can say yes, you can remain a finalist for another year. You can come to sessions, observe. You can even work on that stage with members. Or they can say, no, thank you. We appreciate you coming into audition, but no, thank you. We were working on a scene from a play called Hunting Cockroaches. And I remember how I got the play was, until my audition, I had never stepped foot inside the Actor Studio. I did not even know where the address was. I did not make it a usual schedule to go there to see other people, because I was going to school. Then I finished school. During that time, I was working in a restaurant to be able to survive in New York. So what am I going to work on? What am I going to work on? I have to find a scene. I was aware of the fact that I don't speak English perfectly. I was aware of the fact that I speak English with a Romanian accent. So I decided that I was going to find a play that was going to be credible with me in it as the character. The more you believe in the character, the more the audience, in this case, the committee. To this day, I don't know who was in the committee of the Actor Studio when I auditioned. I have no idea. This happened so many years ago, like I said. But I remember I went to a library to try to find something, and I walked into a library, and there was a gentleman, a librarian there, and I said to him, I have this audition coming up for the actor studio. And I remember he even said, oh my God, it's so difficult to get in. I'm like, I know, everybody says it's impossible, but since I went to the program, I have the option to audition as a finalist. So I don't have to go through all the other steps, and I don't want to miss my chance to do it. What do you suggest? Do you have in mind a play, hearing my accent? Because I would love to work on something that would justify me having an accent. How am I to make people believe that I am playing an American character if I'm not able to do a neutral American accent? It's more difficult, and especially for an audition of such importance. All of these factors were playing in my mind. And he said, one moment after we had this conversation. So he went somewhere in the back of the library. I call it a library. I don't know if it was a bookstore, a place with books. And then he comes back and he hands me this play. And I look at it. I had never heard of it before. It is called Hunting Cockroaches, written by a Polish writer. His name is Janusz Glowacki. I had not heard of him. I had not heard of the play. He gave it to me. I gave him the money. I paid for it. I went home to my apartment. I remember I started to read, and it opened with the character that I was going to play for my auditioning to get into the actor studio, not the school, because I had graduated from the school of the actor studio, from the master's program. So I took the play at home and I started reading it. It was about this actress from Poland who had come to the United States because she wanted to be free, to be able to express herself the same way that Romania used to be a communist country. I could relate to that. I was in New York. Poland, Romania, very similar. The accents are very similar. Her name is Anka. I was just so blown away by this gentleman who was able to just go and get me this particular play to do. The librarian, that's what I'm going to call him. Read the play. You should read it. It's an amazing play. Hunting Cockroaches, Janusz Glowacki. These are my recollections, so I don't know if I'm saying everything precise, but these are my opinions. These are my memories of what happened 20 years ago. We knew that we had to keep the scene at under 5 minutes because we were told that if we go over the 5 minutes, then they are going to stop you. So I was like timing it when we were rehearsing it. I was rehearsing it by myself at home, trying to work on it, on the lines, memorize them, timing it because I wanted to be polite. I didn't want to go over the 5 minutes because I don't want them to think that I don't take into consideration the timing that they want you to do the scene in. The day of the audition comes. Thought I knew the lines, thought I did all the work. I thought I knew how I was going to say the first line and how the other person, my friend actor who was coming with me, was going to respond, how I was going to respond back to him. Once I got to the actor studio and was hit with the history of it, when I started seeing all the pictures of the greats on the walls, pictures of Elia Kazan, pictures of Marilyn Monroe, pictures of Al Pacino, pictures of Marlon Brando, I believe, pictures of Lee Strasberg, pictures of so many legends. I was so afraid. I got so scared. And then I hear somebody call our name because there were many auditions planned on that day. It wasn't just our audition. There were like 5-minute auditions planned for the entire day. We were in the library of the actor studio and they said, you're going to be next. Get ready. So I'm like, oh my God. To my colleague, oh my God, that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with this. I'm going to say this. You're going to say this back to me, thinking that we're going to do the scene. And then once I got on the stage of the actor studio for the first time in my life, I, Mihaela, from a small village in Romania, din Bistrița Năsăud, la 40 de kilometri distanță de Bistrița Năsăud, Caianu Mic. I'm on the stage now of the actor studio, and I completely forgot my lines. My brain froze, and I started wandering around the theater, looking up at this beautiful sacred place that so many greats were on and are on. And then, after what to me seemed like 5 seconds, the time did not make any sense. I lost track of time. I had forgotten about the 5 minutes. All of a sudden, when I was done taking the whole place in, not even knowing that that's what I was doing, but I was actually leaving myself alone to be in the moment, which is such a risky choice to make if you knew you were taking that risk. But in my naive mind, I had no idea what I was doing. I was so in awe of everything around me. Then, after a while, I saw my colleague, the one that was there to help me with this audition. And I was still in the moment of inner monologue. My inner thoughts were, fuck, I messed this up. I really thought in that moment that because I didn't start on time, I didn't start the scene as soon as I got on that stage, I thought I messed this up, this opportunity that was given to me. I messed it up. Emotions overtook me, feeling as if I was a failure. On this great stage, this unique home for artists that began by a group of extraordinary people with the group theater in the 1930s, based on the Stanislavski system, after they had seen the Moscow Art Theater with their shows when they were on tour in America. Then the group theater dissolved. They started the actor studio, which was still based on the group theater with some of the remaining members of that, coming back to reopen the actor studio in 1947, since they're celebrating 75 years of existence. I felt like such a failure, and I thought to myself, I just blew it. I just blew it. I just blew it. All of that mixture of feeling inadequate, everything else, all of this conflicting inner thoughts that were happening in my mind took away my nerves of I have to act, took away the fear of there are people watching, the committee that was watching in the audience where they were, everything was really dark. So you couldn't see faces, you could just see shadows of people. I was so taken by what was happening to me in that moment, even though I never had rehearsed it to be that way when I rehearsed the scene. I did not know at that time that that was going to end up being good or bad. When I did see my friend, the other character, and I did say my first line, he responded back to me, and then I responded back to him. It was on top of all of those built emotions, all that inner life, all of those conflicts that I felt about myself. Now having to overcome them with the simple goal of, I have to do the scene. I wasn't even thinking as the character anymore. I was thinking as myself, the human being. I was thinking as myself, the actress. What have I done? I gotta finish. I gotta do the scene. I have to show those people, whoever they are, that I can do the scene. So we did the scene, and I think we were able to get through it maybe halfway, I would say. I don't remember exactly. I'm curious. I have to call him and see what he says, if he remembers. It would be nice to see if he remembers the same as I remember from the experience. I'm sure he's probably going to have different memories and different details to add, or some of the ones that I have, maybe he didn't even understand that I was going through. So that would be such an interesting thing to do. By the time we actually got to the scene, it must have been longer than what I thought, to be taking in the place and not believing that here I am, a peasant. And I say a peasant in the most respectful way. This little peasant from Romania. Maybe we got through half of the scene, and then I hear, thank you, very one note. That surprised me because that meant that they were telling me my 5 minutes were up. So instead of them saying stop, they said thank you. Polite, kind. They understood. All of these people who were in the committee, they're already people with understanding of the work of the actors. So they know the actors' sensitive while being on stage or in front of the camera. So they didn't say stop, you're done. That's what I talk about with the filmmakers that I teach here. I'm at SVA, School of Visual Arts, and I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to do this here during my break between classes. I have this room that they give me so I can feel like I'm being productive. I just dropped my hair pin, the tie from my hair. That's me being in the moment, realizing what just happened and picking it up, which one has to do on stage. You see so many bad actors having an accident happen to them, and instead of taking it and letting it be an obstacle that they have to deal with, letting it be something that's spontaneous in the moment, the gift that's being given to you, that accident, is something that you have to take in. Sensorially, you have to respond to that. You see it, you pick it up, you acknowledge it. It doesn't mean that you come up with your own lines, but you go on with the lines of the scene as they are. That action will inform your character in a way that you had no idea if the accident never happened. So when they said thank you, I think they saw my fear, because when I heard thank you, I was thinking, oh, I thought this is it. I messed it up. I could not wait to get out of the theater. I was so embarrassed. I was so ashamed of myself. And I just wanted to go out and apologize to my friend who was gracious enough to come and audition with me, because I could not have gone by myself to do a monologue. And I couldn't find any other people to audition. So I just wanted to get out, thinking that what I did was the most awful and it was wrong. It wasn't the scene as rehearsed. I think they must have seen that I was so depleted. I think my physicality completely changed in the way that I walked out of the theater, of the actor studio, that I heard another thank you. But this time the thank you was not just one note. It was with much more of a sweetness in it. It was a thank you, as if their subtext to it was, it's okay. That's what I wanted to hear, and that's what I convinced myself, that the subtext underneath the second thank you was, I felt like they were saying, don't be ashamed of what you did. It's okay. I wanted to believe that. But still, I got outside and I remember going home, not even believing that I would ever hear from them. I said, this is what I did, and I messed it up. I messed it up because it was not done the way that we had planned. I did not do it the way that I had anticipated doing it. But I didn't think that there was going to be enough. Due to the many actors auditioning every year, they were only accepting 2 or 3 a year. And there were so many auditioning. And that's how it's been since its beginning. Very few people become members. I remember some weeks after getting the letter from the actor studio in the mail, I went up to my apartment and I remember lying on my bed. And if I'm recalling this, which is what we actors do all the time, we recall moments by using the sight, reimagining myself lying on the bed, looking up at the ceiling, feeling the envelope in my hand on my chest. I was so afraid to open it because I didn't want to know the answer. But I remember saying to myself, I opened this letter If they're letting me know that I became a member of the actor studio, that I got in, I'm going to stay in New York. If they're telling me that I did not get in, I don't think I want to be here. I think I want to move back to Romania. Those were the two choices that I was going to think of, depending on what the result in the letter was. I opened the envelope. I read the letter. We would like to inform you that we are accepting you as a lifetime member of the actor studio. And I remember I was alone. I was by myself. I didn't have anybody. My family's not here. Everybody's all over the world. And I didn't even have anybody to share that with. So having had the thought before of, if I don't get in, I don't think I'm going to stay in New York because it's tough and it's difficult. I might just go back to Romania. But at the same time, I was ashamed to go back to Romania because I didn't feel that I was strong enough to follow through with the decision to come to New York. Seeing that they accepted me as a lifetime member of the actor studio on my first try, I felt like they made a mistake. You know, I felt like there's got to be something wrong. I mean, everything that I did was completely the opposite of what the scene I thought was going to be like. But then I remembered, I think everything that I was taught in the 3-year program prior to this particular time and me auditioning for the actor studio, the program, the master's program that I went to, I had learned the method for 3 years from some great teachers. Some of them are still with us, some of them are not, unfortunately, passed on too soon. So maybe some of the things that I was doing, I was probably subconsciously doing exactly what method acting is supposed to be about, which is if something else takes hold of you, the place that you are in is affecting you in a way that significant sacred place affected me, then you go with it, especially when you are in an audition of such a place as the actor studio, where this openness to the work is permitted. That's what's so magnificent about this work. Permission to be wrong is available. You are permitted to be wrong. You are permitted to have an anticipated idea of how you want to do a character, how you want to play a character. If you're going to be open to that and see what else is there, focus on what is making sense to you in the moment, what becomes strong to you in the moment. They encourage you to go with it. It doesn't mean that you disrespect the playwright. It doesn't mean that you disrespect the lines. In this situation where the audition was about the work of the actor studio, they weren't interested in seeing a whole play. It's a different thing if you're doing a whole play with a director. Of course, you still have to stay open to moment to moment to moment to moment, to the place, to how your senses react to different objects. Personalize it to be something specific from your life that's going to provoke emotions, evoke emotions, respond to the partner on stage. You substitute him with somebody from your life while you're maintaining the rhythm of the play as the director informed you that he or she wanted you to do. This was a different thing. This was 5 minutes. These people from the actor studio had to get to know who I was. They weren't interested in seeing somebody do a play. They weren't so much interested in seeing a fully developed character. I'm not saying that this would work for anybody, or I cannot know for sure that if I suggest to somebody that they don't start the scene as soon as they walk on stage, but they allow the sacredness of that place, of the stage, to inform, I don't know if it's going to work. It worked for me in the moment because I did not predict, I did not anticipate that's what I was going to do. So that memory came to me because Al Pacino, he gave this interview. It's an amazing interview. He talks about when he found himself at the actor studio and he was in front of the Godfather. Automatically our mind would go to, well, he played in the movie. And then the interviewer says, when he found himself in front of the Godfather, the godfather of the actor studio, Lee Strasberg, the artistic director. Al Pacino talks about Lee Strasberg looking on a piece of paper, the moderators, the legendary moderators from Lee Strasberg to Ellen Burstyn to Lee Grant to Estelle Parsons to Alec Baldwin to Harvey Keitel to, I can't even think of all of them. They still look at the card that's given to them when they are moderating a session after you become a member, and they say the next work is going to be with Mihaela, Mihud, and so. So he's talking about the time when the godfather of the actor studio, Lee Strasberg, looked at the card and he said, the next work is going to be with Al. He looked at my name. He said, any other person up to that time, Al Pacino came in contact with, the way that Al Pacino is written, Pacino especially, the chi does not exist in English. So for an English person, for an American person to read that name, it would be El Pacino, El Pacino. Everybody was mispronouncing his name, but this time, at the actor studio, in front of the godfather of the actor studio, Lee Strasberg, first time meeting him, took the card, looked at his name, and he said, next work will be with Al Pacino. Al Pacino describes it in this interview that I was telling you guys about, talks about that moment and how important that moment was for him, that somebody finally pronounced his name correctly. They weren't saying Pacino, they weren't saying Pacino. He, Strasberg, knew to pronounce his name, Al Pacino. And he felt, as he explained that, he felt this belonging. He felt that he has found the place, the community he belongs to. He's found his home. He's made it. Oh my God, this is so amazing, because I thought I was the only one that was having such a difficult time with people not being able to pronounce my name. So many years later, colleagues, there's still a few colleagues who pronounce my name wrongly. I was so upset one time when I got up on that stage. I finished the work. Other members who are now working on that day, but they are the audience, they give you the feedback, they respond to the work, and they suggest things, they tell you what they observed, and said my name, Mahalula, Mikalula. I couldn't even hear what he said after that. All of the things that he wanted to tell me that he was suggesting, or he did not see me do, or he saw me doing my work, did not make any sense, because I got so sad. I got so sad because of all the years that people have not even tried to say my name correctly. And I'm not saying that I'm pronouncing the names in English correctly. Because I have an accent, they're going to sound different. But I'm not pronouncing them so out of the way that they should be pronounced. For the longest time, I was so upset that that's what that member, whom I've known for so long, called me, but I didn't want to say anything because I thought there was something wrong with me to be upset or to be sad about it. And then to hear this legend, to hear this amazing actor Al Pacino describe about his beginnings with the actor studio, having that feeling of, I belong. Somebody pronounced my name correctly. One's name is significant. You have to own it. And you have to not be ashamed of correcting the people if they're not saying it right. Don't just say, it's okay, you can call me whatever. No. If you don't want to take a little bit of time to pronounce it correctly, you don't have to. You just say, I would like to say that this is what I observed. You don't have to go mahabahalula or whatever. So what I did, but I'll tell you in the next episode. But anyway, in life, making plans in life is amazing, but then leave yourself in the moment. Let your senses be alive every moment, because this is the moment that we have in everyday life, on stage, in front of a camera. Thank you so much. I wish I would have used this. Look what I discovered. Talk about accidental happenings in the moment. Observe them, cherish them. SVA, School of Visual Arts, also this year, 75 years since it was founded. So the Actor Studio and SVA, the same year, celebrating 75 years. Thank you. Mwah, mwah, mwah.